Hey, welcome back, guys. It's another Not So Late Next show, and this time around we will be touching on a special company, also IPO company. I mean, for the past few weeks we have been touching a lot of IPO companies, but this time around we will be going to US because this company, although it is a Sweden-based company, but it has chose to list its shares in the US market. You might have heard of it if you are someone who is frequently going to the cafes, Starbucks, whatsoever. You would have actually come across this brand, this product, and hence might have a bit of awareness of this company. But on the financial side and on the investing point of view, this company has just went listed on the 20th of May. And of course, being someone from the investing literacy website and page, we decided to take a deeper look onto this company, and this company is Oatly. So of course they are in the business of manufacturing plant-based milk. A lot of companies are doing that, so are they just another plant-based milk company? So we will touch more on the business model and the strengths and also the threats that the company might encounter. So before we go into the company, just a little bit of shout out to our premium club. So we actually have a premium subscription model, and inside this club you actually get access to a private Facebook page invitation. We will discuss on a lot of topics, and also we will also have a monthly sharing session as well with our club members. So this is actually the last topic that we do. We will actually come up with another topic next week as well. And of course, you also have access to premium articles and analysis. And here are some examples of it. So if you're someone who actually enroll in our Dividend Gems course, you will actually get a special Dividend Gems report where we screen out the respective companies using our hurdle technology that we have set for screening out good dividend stocks. And last but not least, you also have pick 10 stocks for 2021, and up to now, all stocks have been doing quite well. There are no stocks that actually would want us to change our investment thesis and views on it. So do check it out if you are interested with the top 10 stocks that we have picked for our 2021 portfolio. And of course, we have also included thematic themes for different sectors that can be also its exciting investment potential. So we just covered electric vehicles in April. Coming in the month of July, we will be covering semiconductor, the entire end-to-end sphere and ecosystem of it. And of course, there's also e-commerce and castle on clouds in the coming months. So here is just a brief breakdown on what we will do. We will start from design companies up to the fabrication companies and up to the OSAT companies and also the end consumer products companies as well. And here are just the brief snapshot that the companies that we will be touching base on. Of course, you have the giants like Intel, Samsung, the fabless companies like Broadcom, Nvidia, AMD, the pure play foundries like TSMC, and also our OSAT companies based in Malaysia, Vitrox, Inari, all the downstream players that are available in the Malaysian Stock Exchange. And here you have it, the information of the upcoming thematic transcripts for semiconductor sphere. It will be held on the 24th of July on the morning session. So do check it out if you are interested. And this is just a snapshot of what we covered in our EV ecosystem. So you can see that there are lithium compound companies, the auto parts and components, and also the EV manufacturers as well. And here is just a snapshot of what we have just briefed you through. You can actually pause and read through the entire offering and services that we have for our Kaya Plus Premium Club. The price will be at 488 ringgit per year, and it will be renewed annually as well. So thanks for sitting through the brief introduction of what we are currently offering, and we will be jumping straight through the company of the day, which is Oatly. And of course, before every sharing session, there's a disclaimer where what we share with you is what we know, what we have obtain from reliable sources, be it the IPO prospectus and etc. Please do not take it as an advice to buy, sell, or hold a position in any of the shares and securities mentioned within this sharing session. And of course, if you do think the company is a potential company, we wish you all the best, but do bear in mind to make further analysis and study. So, before I actually enter into what Oatly is about, maybe I will just pick Chun-Ming's brain. Chun-Ming, are you aware of this company before the company wanted to, IPO the shares, or have you actually tried Oatly products?
Not really, because I think I'm not a coffee lover in a way. So if you are frequent cafe hopper or whatnot, you might came across this, like what JuJuR mentioned, even in Starbucks and so on. But for me, this is pretty new, but then it catch some of the headline recently. That's why we have decided to look into it further. And it's also a very good place for me to study further on the entire milk substitutes or alternative markets.
Yep. Okay. Talking about milk substitutes, that means the main market actually right now is just the traditional dairy business. The milk that we have been consuming day in, day out comes from the cows, right? So let's take a deeper look on how the dairy industry is actually about. So to actually get milk, straightforward, you need to have dairy cows, right? And dairy cows have a lot of species, but I'll just keep it simple. Usually it's the black and white one, which is the Frisian cow. And to have and to obtain large volume of milk, you actually have to have a lot of cows, and hence you have a dairy farm, and then you extract it, and then from the milk itself, you actually use to make plenty of products. You can drink it as it is, you can make it into cheese, ice cream, etc. A lot of dairy products, right? But there's an argument to the so far downside of dairy farming, which is the emission of greenhouse gases, which is called GHG in short form. So if you look at the entire farming process from start until utilizing the byproducts of the cow waste or the manure waste, like for example, to make fertilizer and other byproducts, those of these products or processes actually excrete or expose out a lot of the greenhouse gases. So you have a lot of greenhouse gases like methane, carbon dioxide, and also ammonia. So there is an argument to it that as human population continues to grow, you would need to have more and more dairy farm to churn out more milk so that you can feed the entire human population. And it will hit a particular tipping point that one day all of these greenhouse gases will actually cause more harm to the entire world ecosystems and also the so-called ozone layer. So how to actually come about the very, very tricky problem to it, which is the greenhouse gases emission. And also, as we slowly grow up, especially for adults, we tend to develop lactose intolerance to milk. That means if you stop drinking milk, or you stop taking dairy products for a long period of time, the body actually stops producing a certain enzyme that helps you break down the lactose, which is the milk sugars contained inside milk. And that is why sometimes you have heard yourself, or you have personally experienced or heard your friends say that after consuming a huge amount of dairy, you actually end up in the toilet because of bloating and also flatulence. So this is because of the lactose intolerance that we actually will encounter if you stop taking dairy products when you reach a certain age. So the entire argument of dairy industry is that it's actually quite harmful in terms of the greenhouse gases emission, and also somehow rather or later the entire major population of the human world will actually develop some sort of lactose intolerance towards dairy milk. So how do we actually come across this product or problem? So the solution is actually to use non-dairy substitutes or non-dairy milk to actually help to come in and solve this problem. But Chun-Ming, what are your thoughts to actually have non-dairy substitutes coming into our diet, and also to help solve these two alleged problems?
I think if we to maintain the consumption demand from ever-growing population, especially there isn't any significant sign that the whole population will be slowing down. Even though you're saying some of the developed country, the population might be growing slower and slower, but then you got all the new or third world country that is still having a significant drive in the mankind population. Dairy definitely will hit certain limits. So that's why plant-based milk is a good substitutes or alternative that people has been working on. It's the same concept goes to plant-based meat, but although that part I think it has more controversial or more arguments, but then when they go to non-dairy products as a substitute, I think this is more straightforward. It's just whether the cost perspective or the nutrition perspective can catch up with the demands or not. So these are some of the example of all the non-dairy or milk substitutes products. And then this is a few key categories. So it's a quick comparison between cow's milk versus plant-based milk, which you got a tons of options. And of course, today focus, we are going to talk about oatmeal, which is the one at the right most. But arguably, people might came across more into soy-based milk or almond milk. So each of these alternatives come with different challenges, but then we won't cover those in details. But today we're just focusing into oat milk as a rising star, where they actually produce sufficient numbers of proteins. If you compare most of the product or plants that is shown here, they also covering not a bad numbers of fats or carbs. So this is some of the details shared by Daily Sabas for us to do a quick comparison. And of course, why you should take a deeper look into this is it has been shown into the markets where the demand is actually growing very strong. So this is a chart, the one shown in blue is the number of sales in US for non-dairy milk alternative products in 2019, which oatmeal is not the main one. They only have about 53 million sales as of October 26, 2019. But then fast forward to 2020, it actually grew about 200% year on year. And then it managed to reach about 267 million in retail sales. And in short, it became the second largest dairy alternative just behind almond milk. So this is a very exciting news that you can see if you are oat milk lover, meaning you can see more this kind of product will go mainstream because of all these statistics, right? And then of course, we have all this background on talking about non-dairy market in general. Then we will zoom into deeper on what Oatly is all about and then how they get started. So in short, they are the world original and largest oatmeal company. They're already in the market for about 25 years. So of course, the earliest is more into the R&D stage and then offering to a very niche market. But then as of today, the whole demand is picking up. And this stocks is actually went IPO back in 20th of May, I think just 1 week ago in Nasdaq Stock Exchange. It's actually founded by professors as a project in universities in Sweden. So this is Professor Richards, and then subsequently joined by his brother called Bronch, and then they set up Oatly AB in 1994 in Sweden. And then the earlier stage and all those things like what I mentioned is more serving the niche group demand until this current CEO, Tony Peterson, stepped in, joined in about 2012, and then he made quite a significant change and also grew the business quite a lot. So you can see under his leadership, the revenue actually grew sixfold from 2017 to 2020, and eventually it got listed in 2021. So also some of the background of this company. So during the setup of company, when they wanted to grow further, they actually attract investment from multiple parties. So particularly, this is the two largest shareholder at the moment. So the first one is a joint venture between a venture capitalist, a family-based VC in Belgium called Worlinvest. And then they do a JV with a Chinese state-owned company called China Resources. So this JV alone own about 46% of Oatly. And then second one is probably the one that make more into the headline or into the news. It's actually 6.7% is owned by Blackstone. And the company behind this, Blackstone, has a handful of billionaire backers. So some of the name famous US rapper called Jay-Z, Oprah Winfrey, and of course the founder of Starbucks, Howard. So this is some of the background on how the market or how of the some of the company or how to say the artists, they are seeing some potential into this vegan-based, plant-based milk, and then this is some of the investment they're doing in the early stage. And then, of course, if you do check out their YouTubes or their website or some of the images they have shared, you found they are quite creative when they do marketing to share this concept of products. And all these things is actually being produced in-house. So these some of the examples shared inside their IPO prospectus. So I think for me personally, it definitely caught my eye when I read through these things, and also when I check out their videos. It's quite creative, and then it makes you can understand what are they trying to sell to you, and then what is the product behind. So for example, the one in the middle, they say, hey, vegan, pre-vegan or non-vegan. If you have no idea what vegan means for ice cream products, you can just try it out. So all these things with a simple visual and words, so it make you have the urge to try it out, and then they have a success, meaning the brand power is getting more and more significance in various locations, especially in the Europe region right now. So this is some of the example, and then which I think is quite successful. And currently their product portfolio is quite wide, although about 90% of the sales still come from the oat drinks, but they also venture into cookings related materials, oat or yogurt equivalents, and also ice cream. So this make them stand out from other competitors, let's say soy based milks company, almond based milk company. Usually they are focusing into just one thing, the milk itself. But then for Oatly, their product portfolio is actually quite wide. It also can means they are quite ambitious into taking the markets. So this is some of the breakdown of their current product portfolio. And then just some of the sharing lah. This is when I talk about Oatly, basically it's a dairy-free, soy-free, gluten-free, nut-free, organic. You can get this thing assurance from their product itself. And of course, the seed they used to, the supplier they get for the oats is basically grown by non-GMO seeds. GMO stands for genetically modified organisms. So everything is actually organics. So they wanted to promote you with some of the product standard they are having right now, and then give you the certainty on what is the thing that you're getting back. So we cover quite a bit about the products, what they do, what is the history, and then what most importantly for us as an investor is to see the market reaction, and also some of the data. So please bear with with us on the data shown here is a bit blurrish, but then this is the source, the highest resolution we can get from the source. So you can see in Sweden, the home country of Oatly, actually oat is actually the big boy. They own about 72% in the alternative markets, the main alternative markets. The other region like UK, also Germany, is also picking up. And most importantly, one of the big, the big market in US is also picking up and become second largest, like what I shared earlier. So all these things is showing a very good data or trend that oatmeal is definitely picking up, and this is why we should look into this company. And of course, I think you also might be interested how this oatmeal come about. I will just pass to Jupan to share some knowledge on how is the whole manufacturing process happen on oat milk before it delivered to you as a product.
Yep, thanks, Junbing. So of course, compared to normal dairy milk, which the process is pretty much straightforward, which is you have a cow and then the cow will actually produce the milk and you just need to milk the cow, right? And from the cow itself, you get the milk as it is, and yeah, you can drink it on its own, or you can actually use it to make other kinds of product. But it's not so straightforward for oat, since the oat that we know, or the oat that we usually eat or consume, is actually in the form of solid, right? So how do you change something from solid into liquid and make it so similar to milk? So straightforward. When you actually get the oat meal from your supplier, or when Oatly does that, they will actually wet the oat first, make it a little bit more pasty or a little bit more porridgey, and then they'll further grind it down into smaller pieces. So you can see that at the third stage. So from the big oat pieces, they actually grind it down to a smaller pieces, and then they will add in some enzyme or some chemicals. I would say enzyme is a more suitable word. So from the enzyme itself, you will start to break down the smaller pieces of oat into more simpler sugar forms. And then once you have that kind of concoction or that kind of mixture, you will have actually the solid and also the liquid. So they'll go through a filtering process where you filter out the solids and also the liquid. So now you have the so-called main base body of the oat milk, and it gets added with rapeseed oil and also a little bit of salt and flavorings. You have if you want to make a chocolate flavor one, then that's also where you add in the chocolate flavor, and then it goes through a further process and it gets homogenized and mixed so that everything stays homogenized together, and then you will get filled into their respective packaging and then sent off to the retail centers or even the food service centers, and then that is where the consumers like you and me get access to an oat milk product. So it usually encompasses or requires a little bit of science and technology to come up with the optimum process and also the enzymes to break down a piece of oat and make it into an oat milk. And of course, talking about how Oatly makes its milk, we also need to dip deeper into where the production facilities is. Can the current production facility, tag along with the demand, growing demand, since we have showed just now that oat milk is going to be quite an interesting non-dairy alternative in the current market scenario. So as of 2020, the production actually reached 300 million liters, and the plan to actually double up, it means to hit 600 million liters in the 2021. And of course, the expansion will be rolled out simultaneously in other countries and other parts of the world. So there are a few new plants, like one plant in the UK, one plant in the China, and one plant in Singapore as well. So if you are someone who have, quite well versed in the investing scene in Singapore, you would have actually come across this news just a few weeks back that Oatly will be partnering with Yo Help Sing or Yos to set up manufacturing facilities in Singapore to cater for the Southeast Asia growth potential. Of course, China is also a big market, hence the rationale to actually set up a China plant in Anhui province is also there as well. And of course, in 2022, it goes up to 1 billion liters, and here is actually the current production facilities, which is in Landskrona, Sweden, and they plan to expand to Singapore, to US, to even China as well at Manshan, and the UK will be at Peterborough. So quite an exciting prospect. It's growing very rapidly. The marketing is spot on, and you can see that oat milk actually has surpassed a few other non-dairy alternatives, and that actually justifies the need to actually quickly set up manufacturing facilities around the world to tap onto this aggressive and promising growth. So let's look deeper into the financial info of Oatly. So of course, the company have just provided 2 years data from the prospectus itself. You can see that revenue from 2019 to 2020 actually grew 100% roughly. So from 204 million up to 421 million. But if you read through the entire prospectus, from 2017 to 2020, the company actually grows six already, the revenue. So it is still in a very rapidly growth phase because there's a lot of untapped potential currently in the market. Gross profit is roughly around 30+%. Of course, if you look at the net profit or the profit attributable to the shareholders, it's still currently a loss-making company, and you can maybe see that the loss is actually more and more because this is still a new company. They have to actually continue to spend or to expense R&D expenses, marketing expenses to actually grow their presence and grow their market share, right? So if you're someone who is uncomfortable with huge losses, this might not be a company for you. And going to the growth segment or geographic growth breakdown, you can actually see that in the Europe, Middle East, and Asia market is actually one of the key markets for Oatly. And of course, Americas as well. You can see that America is also slowly tagging on and climbing the growth trend, which is quite similar to what the EMEA region is actually experiencing. And same goes for Asia as well. So as Oatly gets the so-called exposure to the Asian market and particularly China, you would actually see that there is a very good growth potential in all of these key three regions. And if you further break down, EMEA region is actually 64%, and then America's 24%, and Asia is actually at 13%. And if you look at all of the channels that the company is actually selling its product, it's actually targeting 11,000 coffee and tea shops with 6,000 retailers, and almost all of the 5,000 Starbucks in Asia is actually helping Oatly to drive consumption and drive sales and also drive brand recognition as well. Of course, the gross profit has always been roughly around 30+%, which is healthy for food and fast food. I will say 30% of gross profit margin for a food manufacturer or a fast-moving goods company. And yeah, this is actually quite positive, and you want to see the company to maybe increase the gross profit margin if possible, so that they have more margin to spend it on sales and marketing and also the R&D as well. And of course, the multi-sales channel, you will see that the company actually huge emphasis on the retail and food service segment. So food retail actually encompasses the shopping malls, the groceries segment that consumers like you and me actually go and pick the product from the shelves as well. And for food services, it actually comes from the cafes, Starbucks, all these kind of coffee shops segment where Oatly also has a huge presence as well, contributing to 25%. And last but not least will be e-commerce, which they are also in the major e-commerce channels in China, like Tmall, JD.com, and Pinduoduo. So what about the valuation of the company? And since, of course, the company has just IPO just weeks back, you would see that they actually IPO at $17 per share. It actually went up to $22 per share. So it's roughly around 20 to 30% increase from their IPO share. But what do you think about that, Chun-Bing? Do you think that it is actually an expensive stock for Oatly?
I mean, there's a few things you should take note when you want to look into this. Is their largest shareholder at the moment is a VC, is a JV between a family-based VC in Belgium plus China Resources, which is state-owned. So this definitely helped, and it's also shown in how they managed to have 5 times growth in Asian market in terms of sales. So this is also explain a few things where China definitely is one of the big market they are going after, and now this is some of the things that will be giving you a good number in the coming years. Together with Starbucks as CEO as one of the backer, that's why you can see Starbucks China actually consuming Oatly products quite a bit. So all this is some positive news news when we want to talk about Oatly, but we should try to see at their current losing rates, how many more market they need to actually cover the back, or how many growth percentage they need to actually hit the balance, and then they can go into the profit state. But of course, for me, I'm quite positive in it because alternative market to milk is in my opinion, it definitely cannot catch up with the ever growing population. So it's just whether oatmeal would be the one, or other product can actually take over them. But for me, at the moment, from the data or even Google trend, you can see oatmeal is definitely in the rising trend. Is something that we should definitely look into it. But nothing much on the PE, because it's still at loss making. They won't be having any PE number for us to do reference. So you can only do maybe sales against the revenues. I mean price against the revenue as some indicator, and compare against some of the other similar stocks like vegan-based meat or plant-based meat, like this company called Beyond Meat and so on. So those can be some of the reference you can try to check them out lah, because they are the same. They are providing alternative to a product that we have been consuming for years.
Yeah. So of course, to also put things into perspective, the latest revenue that Oatly actually achieved was just 400 plus million US dollars. 400 plus US 400 plus US million US dollars. The market cap of Oatly is currently at 13 billion. So it's an additional 4 zeros or 4 decimal points that the valuation that Oatly is currently having on top of the current revenue that it is experiencing. You can argue that if the company can continue to grow at 3 digits, it's an exciting segment the company is currently embarking on. And yeah, you can actually come from that perspective to just justify that even though the valuation is so far ahead from what Oatly is currently achieving, but the growth momentum and the so-called growth speed, I mean, in terms of a year-on-year perspective, if it continues to grow at 3 digits, 100+%, etc., yeah, you can actually justify that it's not that expensive. Their marketing is spot on. They have a complete portfolio of products to actually not only convince vegan diet people to actually consume oat milk, but also the traditional dairy consumers to also give oat milk a try. Then there could be a potential that the current day's valuation can be justified with the increased potential that the company will actually experience in the coming few years. But of course, we leave that to you. We think there's potential, and of course, the other news that is going to come, or rumor, is that Oatly will also seek a second listing in Hong Kong as well. So it's really up to us to give our own thoughts and give our own perspective on whether Oatly is expensive. Is it worth the investment for a potential trend-changing kind of human consumption food?
Yeah, I think one thing to add also, if you are you can read Mandarins. If you look into the one highlight in here, you find their marketing team is not only good in English-based ads, but also good in Mandarin-based. So if you can read this Chinese word, it's basically a combination of milk, which is this part, plus I don't know how should we say, basically representing a plant. So although this is not a genuine words that it's not a real words in Mandarin, but then this is how creative they are to combine this thing into a word and let you can link to their product specialty straight away. So this is what they're really strong at, marketings and telling. Marketing is one thing. Getting you to know their products be an easy way, and also brand power is also very strong from Oatly. So this is just some of the things to share before we end the session. But of course, before we end, we also have an upcoming session that we are going to talk about how to locate great dividend stocks, and then we call it as the dividend gems, which will be offered next month, which is a weekend between 12 to 13, and then it's a 10 o'clock to 4 p.m. kind of sections. So it's also the same 488 per person, and then this dividend gem itself is a scientific way. I would call it a scientific way because you'll be getting a complete steps and also criteria. We call it hurdles for you to screen out the good dividends company. Meaning, you follow us through the session, you will uh, get to have a list of things that we are using to gauge how this stocks is performing as a dividend stocks. So basically, maybe you can have 13 criteria, and then 8 out of 13 pass. Then this give you some of the judgment that you can make whether to proceed with it or not. And then not only focusing into just the checklist, but we also further break it down into 3 different types, focusing into different type of company. Of course, the one that's more straightforward is bank and insurance company, and also REITs, which typical people will see it as a dividend stock. But of course, if you're interested in company that you think can be a dividend churning company, but they are not from these 2 industries, we also have a generic criteria for you to refer. Now, of course, there are some specific KPI or metric that you should use when you look into certain industry. We also will share into the session. And then lastly is when you join us, you can get the course material updates free for life, and you can access to the material and video replay anytime you want after the session. And then do join us, see if you're interested. It will be happening in 12th and 13th of June, this coming month. And then it's just 488. All the information will be available inside the description or the link. And then probably this is, I'll just give you a summary of what I think about this company. I think alternative product is always exciting because when you think about it, it's like electric vehicles. They will think, imagine the whole mainstream markets got replaced by this alternative. For example, no more petrol-based vehicle, everyone go with electric vehicles, then the market potential will be huge. But behind the scene, you also need to think about a lot of other things need to be done to make this happen. First is the awareness on this. People might be skeptical, not convinced. For example, electric vehicles can need last for a long ride. So you might not be confident. So in these things alone, I think Oatly is good in marketing. But beyond that is whether the facility and all those things can get ready or not. Talk about car markets, it's about the charging stations. But if you talk about oatmeal, is whether the whole technique of grinding the meal, whether it's effective or cost effective or not, it still need time to judge. That's why you can see they're still loss making, trying to use the fund raised through this IPO to actually expand eagerly. But then this is all the thing that you should consider before looking into this lah. But I'll pass to Jupan to give a summary before we end the session.
Yeah, I think you pretty much touched base on all the major points. At the end of the day, for loss-making companies, but in very exciting scene or in exciting business model, you always have to make a kind of decision, or there it would be a so-called decision-making process or procedure that you have to undergo. You would have to really put aside the numbers and the valuation, because everything was priced in based on the potential and the exciting growth that the company might experience in the near to mid-term horizon. But apart from that, there's also pitfalls and also threats and also challenges that the company has, because it's not the only non-dairy company out there. And who knows, there will be another similar company doing soy milk or doing almond milk, which can come and disrupt the so-called environment or the segment that Oatly is currently doing, right? So Oatly is currently disrupting the traditional dairy business and also the traditional, or not so, I would say, the current non-dairy milk players as well, right? So you have soy milk companies out there. They have been operating for quite some time, and currently Oatly said, no, please, I'm oat milk is definitely better than soy milk. It's definitely better than almond milk. So there would be a potential competitor coming up to also fight with Oatly as well, with the same wittiness and the same strategy as well. So you always have to take note of that. But is it an exciting company? Yes, nonetheless. But we will actually put this valuation and also decision-making process back to you. And I hope that what we share today might not be as comprehensive as it is, but actually points you to a certain direction to study the company more before you make your investment decision. So that's it for today. If Chunbing, you don't have anything else, we can actually say goodbye to our viewers and catch them in the next episode of our Not So Late Night Show.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.